piss on everybody's chips a little bit more. Well, those look like nice soggy piss chips. Do you want some more piss on those chips? It's Billy Brexit. Hey! You don't see white dog shit anymore, do you? Oh, I do comedy while I'm pissing on your chips. Welcome to Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Richard Miller, and my co-host, confused by the fact that No Not November ended at the same time as Movember and proceeded to celebratorily... No, wait, let me start again. I ad-libbed and it was bad. I shouldn't have ad-libbed. Okay, here we go. Welcome to Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Richard Miller, and my co-host, confused by the fact that No Not November ended at the same time as Movember and proceeded to shave off his willy, Dr. Luke Gledall. How are you doing today, Luke?
Good. I'm good. I'm so confused. I'm so confused by both of those. It will grow back in December, though, I guess.
Here's hoping. For your sake and everybody else's. I think for the world, it's an important thing.
Thanks, Rich. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm all right, yes. There is some wild weather here at the moment. So that Storm Arwen, she's still putting it about. Cheeky sod.
She's a real cheeky sod.
She certainly is. Should we? I mean, we've got. This is a weird weekend. There's not a match this weekend, but
I know.
We've sort of oddly got a fair amount to talk about in the way of news, a midweek match that bears some discussion, and we also decided to, as we've done previously, combine a slice of the action in the cup with a slice of pizza from Papa John's, assessing their two main products, which is a lower league football cup and pizza. So that's we're weighing up, what is Papa John best at providing? Is it cup football or is it
pizza?
Bread with cheese on it? Let's find out. Well, then we're going to answer that question today. And so without further ado, I reckon we got to
breaking hoo-hoos.
Break some hoo-hoos. First up, we're going to deal with a contentious issue.
What's that, Rich?
Which is the season ticket situation. So there's been considerable furore related to the fact that the early bird season tickets have gone on sale on very short notice. They've gone on sale in December. They've gone on sale with a sliding scale of pricing. And so prices are frozen, but only till the middle of December. And this has irked some folks. It's worried some folks. I think people have linked it to previous issues paying wages in December, which we have seen a couple of seasons running. So is this a crunch point for the money behind Chansiri or his own personal finances? And therefore the fans are being asked to bail them out in this situation. Does that speak to other issues elsewhere? And also, people have read it as fairly sort of poor timing in that December is a pricey old month for people buying Christmas. What are your feelings?
Well, I think that Papa Chan's got a lot of money, but it's all tied up in tuna books, which is obviously one of the new altcoins that's coming out in the crypto sphere, which is having a big pullback. So no, I find it interesting, but so it's really interesting to talk about the financial misgivings for the club, more for me because I know I'm probably in a bit of a privileged position. I think both of us, me and you, are pretty well privileged.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
want to kind of give that as a proviso before we get into any discussion
Mm.
about this. So for me, it's less of an emotional thing, just more of a kind of financial planning. But this
Yeah.
seems to be we've had a lot of 10-year season tickets, 5-year season tickets.
Yeah.
I've lost track of what kind of level of badges kind of apply to products.
Club
like
1867 was another attempt, wasn't it?
Yeah. So many ways to get the Sheffield Wednesday paying public to get them to pony up for the future.
Yeah.
I mean, we've not heard anything about any financial misgivings or any kind of dilemmas regarding salaries yet.
No.
We do have a suspended sentence, right? Which means that
well, interestingly, if we make it to the 31st so it's 6 points if we fail before the 31st of December, it's 3 points if we fail after that, between then and June. So I think there is an element of, at this point in time, Chansiri is not a popular figure within the ecosystem of the club. You struggle to find someone that's got good things to say about him outside of probably Darren Moore, and even that's fairly limited. So I think there is an element of this is another thing to shake our fists about, and we don't like this person, so it's another welcome thing to shake our fists about. So there's a bit of that, as you say. That's the kind of emotional aspect to it. I mean, people have asked for season tickets to go on sale earlier previously, so I don't know. It's hard because given our historical issues financially, then it's natural, I suppose, to put two and two together and end up with 17 tuna bucks. Yeah, I mean, on a personal, they have kept the ticket prices the same, although I know there's limited or no finance options. So it's tricky. So on the face of it, though, in terms of businesses being run properly and things like that, if you are a business that naturally has a dip, in this month, that's our tricky month kind of thing, finding a way to get your customers to pay early so that you can smooth out the dip is actually quite a sensible bit of financial management.
Yeah.
I think probably the scaling, I think if you'd said they're on sale for this early bird price during December, and then they'll go off sale and they'll come back on sale in the new year or whatever, I think it's probably the sort of rapid scaling up, and you naturally sort of think, well, what happens? So this is the first 3 jumps in price. What does the 4th one look like? What does the 5th one look like? And are we, by the time most people will be buying their season tickets, are we in a position where we're looking at it and going, that's a price that nobody's that happy paying? I don't know. It's tricky.
It's tricky for that, and I fully kind of understand the emotional weight that kind of comes with something like this. Like, football is an expensive game. Football is going up with inflation. Everything is going up with inflation, except wages.
Yeah.
That's unfortunately kind of how it works.
The club were broadly praised for the prices for this season, and despite ridiculous through the roof inflation, if you're able to buy in that first week, that first window, it's exactly the same price you were paying last year. So actually you're getting a bit of a Billy bargain if you're able to do that. I appreciate there's lots of issues that mean that that's not the case for everybody. I'm sorry, apologies if you can hear hail beating against my window.
I cannot now.
Okay, that's good. It's slightly distracting for me. But so I don't know. As I say, I think it's, if we were top of the league and everybody was full of love for Chansiri, like that first, his first season or two, would we have quite the same vociferous complaints? I don't know. I don't know. That's my sort of, my gut feeling is that there's a lot of, as I say, this kind of, I'm an angry man. I'm angry at this man, and this is another thing I can add to the pyre, in terms of sorry. in terms of my issues with him. So there you go. Do you reckon we've covered that in enough detail?
I think so. I do kind of just want to say and put it that, I fully understand that it's an emotive thing, and it's I think we've kind of mapped out why financially it's practical, but yet it's a difficult time for people to think about such things.
I think it's I think as much as anything, it's such a short time between the announcement and the first window, and that first window is so short. 16, the 6th to the 13th is just such a short amount of time before the prices start ramping up. So, yeah, I mean, PR wise, once again, the club not doing the best for themselves. But that unfortunately is a deep rooted theme for so much that comes out from the club. So just in terms of, there's a little bit of transfer business to cover as well. So Alex Hunt has been out on loan at Grimsby, and I think a bit like Dawson, we were hearing some wonderful reports of his performances early doors and goals and assists. We've not heard quite so much from him recently, but by and large seems to be playing a fair amount of football at a decent level for a decent team. His initial loan is up in January, but also his contract's up at the end of the season. So the rumours, as we've seen so many times before, there are a multitude of clubs interested in young Alex Hunt, and they go all the way up to the Premier League. How much of a pinch of salt we take that with, I don't know. But where do you do? I mean, I know it's hard because we're not watching him week to week, but where do you stand with Hunt? Would you like to see him back and involved?
Not at this stage. I think it's just, similar kind of mentalities looking at young Hurst, who's gone and found a career elsewhere, and looks like he's actually starting to actually do something at Portsmouth now.
Just in time for playing Wednesday.
Just in time for playing Wednesday this coming midweek. And the interesting thing is, we don't, as Wednesday fans, we don't spend enough time looking at other football clubs, so I can't ever say how much this regularly happens at other football clubs. But we've seen a fair gamut of this, right? We've seen young Hurst kind of being drug smuggled by Leicester.
Yes.
We have seen, we've seen Shoran Arahide swan off to Celtic. Yeah.
And that's another sort of bit of interest, is that they have both supposedly been made available for loan. So that's another. Would we welcome them as January arrivals?
Yeah, So I'm glad, because I knew that'd be a thing we talked about and coming into. So let's put a pin in that. We'll come back to that one. So, but then we've also seen like a lot of attention for at least Dawson. I'm not sure if it was the same for Wildsworth as well. But Dawson was someone who was seemingly gaining a lot of plaudits prior to a very lengthy contract signed for him in Sheffield Wednesday. Yeah. So it's going to live somewhere on that spectrum. How much of this is a degree of agent talk?
Well, that's, It and seems to be the same real story. That's the thing, isn't it? It's the
we seem to have a continued difficulty with having a good appraisal of our youth players until it's too late. Yeah. I'm surprised we're not getting this conversation with Kieran Brennan.
Well, it will surely start, won't it? I don't know whether we've got. I may have heard that we've got like an option with him, so that does put us in a slightly more powerful position that we can just take an extra year option. Whereas we did that with Hunt last summer, so he's done. If we don't agree something better with him. And I think in terms of getting compensation, we have to make an offer, and supposedly we've not done that yet. This is not an active talk situation. He's just not heard about his future from the club.
But this, very much ties in with the financial dealings of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club. It's a bit, it's never particularly long-sighted. It's very short-sighted. It's very focused on next week as opposed to, a multi-year plan that we're looking at here. So I don't know. There's a bit of precursor, and there's a bit of thing going into talking about some of the things we'll talk about today. As someone who One person who is co-hosting a Sheffield Wednesday podcast, of which there are many Sheffield Wednesday podcasts, of which there are many people saying very similar things.
Yeah.
I sometimes get a little bit cut down with coming into this and thinking, I'm going to say the same things I said the other week. Really,
Yes.
There's a lot of repeated themes.
I suppose we've produced a reasonable number of young players. I think what's one of the kind of like fallacies in football is that there's a huge difference between somebody who makes a career. We talked about, what was the former Wednesday sort of youth player that's scored against us in a recently, big front man.
Oh, I know.
Sorry.
Vidan Oliver.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So, like, he's perfectly fine, and he's had a perfectly good career. He's now coming towards roughly the end of that. He's probably not markedly better or worse than the sort of players that we've had. So some of the sort of players we've had play for us in the championship.
Yeah.
And so there's a part of it is like, well, you're good enough to just be one of those guys. There's very few special players, but so most of the rest are just kind of making up the numbers. And I think Liam Shaw's probably good enough to make up numbers at this level, or maybe even championship level. Whether he's special, I don't know. I think Hunt could have done a job at this level, but then end up with a very small midfield because he's tiny. I suppose it's the thing is these players that are leaving, despite the fact they're linked to all and sundry, we would have been much better off if we'd not paid attention to the fact that supposedly Dawson was being linked elsewhere. We would have been much better off if we'd not paid attention to being told Wildsmith was being linked elsewhere. Like, I don't know.
But then, and again, similar, carrying on with that mentality, to look back at those characters we've mentioned earlier. Sorry, I really blank on. Is it George Hurst?
George Hurst, yeah.
George Hurst, okay. Because I think I get confused. I think of is David Hurst's middle name's Eric?
Right.
But I think it's Eric Hurst. No, it's George Hurst. Okay. There was no guarantee as to where George Hurst would have gone.
Still isn't really.
There still isn't. There still isn't. But then
goal.
I think you've seen, in case of looking at Vidan Oliver, it's taken him that long in his career to get to a level which we've sunk down to.
Yeah.
Because we were probably around the championship, League One, pushing championship mark around that time when he left the club.
Yeah.
Because I think it was that 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So, that's a long time. That would be a long time if we stuck with that character for him to get anywhere near to the level that we'd needed.
Do you think it's just an element though? So we're looking at, I don't know, let's say you've got $2,500 to give to a player per week. And it's Wednesday, you know these young players. So that's a benefit of it, but it's also kind of also a mark against, because you know all the things they're good at, you know all the things they're weak at, you know all the little niggly injuries that they have. It's like we need to manage his ankle, or we need to manage his knee. As a club coming in, you just go, okay, he's played at this sort of level, and we can get him for maybe a touch more than Wednesday are willing to pay. And I don't know, it's one of those weird things where the unknown is almost an easier choice than it's the opposite of better the devil, It's very strange. I don't know, but it's not a given. It's never a given that any of these young players will excel. Just to kind of cover it off, I know we don't want to spend too long on it, but just in terms of Shaw and Urigide,
yes,
would you be interested, or would you really rather?
Not at this stage, no.
No,
I think unfortunately there's a lot of emotional backstory with that kind of limits them out, which I think you could probably see as a shame, because you could definitely see Shaw and Urigide going to League One clubs and having a decent spell there. It's sad for the sake of their development that they didn't join us on this journey.
No, I know.
For the sake of their careers. But I understand the timing. I understand the timing of jumping when the offer's there and when the timing's right.
Yep.
It's worked out pretty poorly for them at Celtic, which kind of was how I imagined things would go for them at Celtic. and it's sad for them. But I'm sure they've got great offers. I'm sure they've got great contracts, great lengthy contracts. And then, in a certain way, it's a bit like what happens in English football with like, you can go to Chelsea and you can mop around their youth scheme. You can go on a number of loan deals. If it's Chelsea, if it's Man U or somewhere else, it seems a bit less so. They're a bit less savage with just farming out their players to farm teams. But they still have a bit of that, just not anywhere near as developed as like Chelsea Football Club.
Yeah.
But you can come out of that and you can have the cachet, you can have it written on your CV that you were a youth academy player at Chelsea. And I'm sure for sure in Erehide, they have the same thing with a Scottish lens now.
Yeah.
That has to have some worth, I would say.
I know it's tough for them in that I suppose the manager changed, which it's tough for anybody, but always you're taking that gamble as a young player, aren't you? Because they would get chances here. They would have got more chances here, undoubtedly. I don't know that they would have been named days, but they would have got more chances here.
And it's a little bit sad, but I mean, I do think and feel for them. And I think in a lot of situations, you've got to back yourself. So they've done what they needed to do for the sake of themselves. They've played a blinder. Maybe this is detrimental to their development in their career, though. I don't know.
But as you say, they could pick it up. It's not a death knell, but I don't think either of them had done enough to make it a sure thing that they were going to be a great level. Pardon me. But like, I don't think it was a given that either of them were going to be fantastic footballers.
No,
they've kind of cut themselves off at a sapling stage, really, rather than being a fairly pronounced.
Mm-hmm.
Because you look at some of those players you mentioned, Chelsea, Tottenham did a lot of that as well. They scooped up so many youngsters from like Crystal Palace and teams like that in the past, and some of them had great starts. And that's something to live off. I think the fact you played 5 times for Sheffield Wednesday in a season when they got relegated is probably not going to butter too many parsnips down the road for you, but there we go. Before we talk about the truly, truly awful midweek match, we can have some fun, but the two are linked in a way because one of the surprises of the midweek lineup was Captain Pato. And in celebration of the fact he had the captain's armband, the social media team have done an Ask Pato video, which is a true delight.
Something which I said prior to our beginning talk about what we're going to chat upon today, and just as a visual heads up, Rich just takes a big lug of Iron Brew, which is a great segue to getting into talking about Patterson. But Patterson's answers give us more questions than we get answers. He truly is an enigma wrapped in a puzzle,
wrapped in haggis,
deep fried. Served with chips.
I mean, so it's kind of some standard fare, it's the sort of thing that if we were in a better league might get asked on Soccer AM, but because we're in the arse end of nowhere in League One and nobody cares, we have to do it ourselves.
It's funny, we've talked about like characters who've been at the club previously, like, it's good to see, and also probably not kind of too outlandish to say, Prutton found himself a media career because he's a guy who can talk.
Yes.
As a character, Clinton Morrison has found himself a media career because he's a guy who can talk. Looks like Shea Dunkley is going to be one of those people.
Yeah, it could easily be.
So, we'll see a future career, punditry from him. Or dentistry for Patterson. I was going to say with those
surprising answers.
I don't think we're going to see that from Patterson because I think Patterson falls into a new category, which is like he's totally different from the regular FIFA playing, FIFA Nando's loving footballer. He's just weird. He's fucking bizarre. It doesn't change my love for him, but this is a puzzling interview, Rich.
I just enjoyed it. I just thought he had that sort of dry Scottish approach to things and just chuckled.
It's true. Yeah. Well, it was like, what's your favorite band? It was like, well, I don't really like bands. Like, and he mentions, was it Chris Stapleton and someone else? And like,
Lewis Capaldi.
Lewis Capaldi. So we've got a Scottish indie singer, we've got an American country singer. Oh, actually, what is it? He names a metal band.
Yeah, he said, yeah. Oh no, he's like, actually, no, it's Five Finger Death Punch. I lied. He actually says I lied.
I lied. Brilliant.
Metal band, Five Finger Death Punch. Yeah, I lied. Do you think it's just he's so metal he just couldn't let himself? He's like pretending he likes. He's pretending he likes singer-songwriters, and then it just burst out of him. Or do you think he's got like a split personality? Maybe. I love the calming tones of Lewis Capaldi and his lovesick approach to things. Unrequited love is one of the nicest things to listen to when played out in song. But also, lick the devil's ass.
It's funny. He went for media answer, and then he just made a really swift detour. It's that meme of like the car screeching into the different turn off. So
also on music, he slagged off Shohipo's choices. Apparently he's the DJ in the dressing room, and occasionally Saido Berahino plays some stuff, and that's even worse. But his main criticism was he couldn't sing along to the stuff that was played in the dressing room. So he visibly struggled to name anything he liked about living in the area.
A hot chocolate place.
After a long old pause. After much head scratching, he likes a hot chocolate place that gives him little marshmallows and cream.
I also love the thing about what are you watching on Netflix and expecting there's a lot of shows out there you could name pick and things that people are enjoying. Yeah. I don't know if he's a Squid Game guy. I don't know if he likes Selling Sunset. Maybe I don't. There's all these things that he could pick, and then he's like, "It's like the new Kevin Hart is rubbish. I'm not having it."
Oh dear, yeah, that was excellent. Asked who had the best dress or the worst dress sense, he said he threw everybody under the bus and said, "There's only two people with good dress sense: me and the mirror." He also said he's got the best mustache that he's ever seen. That was really good. He's a man that knows. I
would have followed up the thing about the two people with the best dress sense, him in the mirror.
Yeah.
Would you tell him about that? The Aesop's fable about the dog who drops his bone in the water because the dog is like, he'd be like, yeah, I don't know. It seems a big bone. I'd probably do the same.
Oh dear. I thought it was illuminating. Asked his best position, his favorite position. That sort of, for a man that has played almost everywhere on the pitch for Wednesday at this stage, apart from in goal, it was interesting to hear his own thoughts on where he feels he's best. So he said behind the front man, kind of running in the channels, was his favourite. But he feels he's most effective as a centre back.
Still more questions, right?
Still more questions.
I'm just staggered. They asked him what's your favourite goal? So he mentioned. So it was for Cardiff, and I was like, okay, what's your favourite goal for Sheffield Wednesday?
Yeah.
I'm like, here we go. It's going to be the goal against Cardiff, and he said, no, it's the goal against Wigan from this season.
Yeah,
which was a good goal,
but
it wasn't as good as the goal against Cardiff.
Maybe it's just fresher in his mind. It was interesting. The goals he picked for his favourites were were more linked to memories, which is interesting. This one, had to leave my mum's wedding to score this one, and I got married the week before that one. That's it's sort of an interesting take on things.
I loved this. You're going to keep the mustache. So Mrs. hates it, but it's the best mustache I've ever seen.
It's the best mustache I've ever seen. Of course, I'm going to keep it. That's what he's
I
looking at in that
can't
mirror.
knock anybody who's just backing themselves as much as Callum Patterson.
That's what he's looking at in that mirror.
Maybe that's what rubbed off on Liam Shaw and Irahide.
Maybe.
I'll have a bit of that as well.
Maybe I'm picturing him, as I often do, to be honest. I think he's probably naked when he's looking in that mirror. He's just got a little eye on that mustache, you know.
Excellent.
That is the best. You're the best looking guy I have ever seen. Best dressed, best mustache.
Wee long Callum looking good.
Oh dear.
And then should we finalize this on
of course
the brilliant callback to another one that I don't think we covered. I don't think it's from this week.
No, we
it was
did
the week before, and that was Ask Fizz.
So I was not aware of this, and I think we definitely would have discussed it if I had been aware. But yes, he was questioned about an answer that Deli Bashiru had given. When he says he puts his milk in first when he's having cereal.
I know.
Which is just so deeply wrong.
The truest thing, the truest thing that Callum Patterson said. Obviously, made a joke about serial killer.
Yes,
that's. Behind that's a pretty sociopathic tendency.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure the best CEOs in the world do that.
They eat the frog by pouring in the milk first and then dropping the frog in.
Okay. And then drowning the frog in Rice Krispies.
Well, if you warm up the milk whilst the frog's in, it doesn't realise. It doesn't realise it's too hot until it's too late. Oh, well, we've had our fun, Luke, and now we've got to pay the price. The first part of our Papa John's double slice is the cup, the cup match. So Hartlepool's visit, a lovely badge, by the way. That redesign's pretty classy. And I think in the week leading up to the match as well, they'd appointed a new manager, but they were doing that trendy thing of being appointed but not being there for the first game. But it's a ex-Wednesday man of some note in Graham Lee, Spike. You probably missed a lot of the Spike era. I was
on sabbatical during that.
That was almost exclusively played during your sabbatical. He's a good character. He's kind of perma-injured, but a great. When he was there, he was just made such a huge difference.
That is a classy new badge for Hartlepool,
isn't it?
That's a lot better than the old shite ship wheel with a football in the middle. God, that's bad. The old one was bad.
It was bad.
This new one's classy though.
It is. I love it.
You know, I'd get it on a t-shirt to go alongside my rival school's t-shirt.
Oh well. Anyone who's got Luke in their Secret Santa as
another rival school's t-shirt. Brilliant. Just what I wanted. Another one. Love it. Thanks, dude.
How did you know? It's because you told me. So this was, we were trying out making sure all of our toys worked. Wildsmith in goal, Patterson, Brennan, and Brown as the back three. Corbino and Shadipo wingbacks, Byers wing and Deli Bashiru in midfield, and Berahino and So as the strike partnership you never knew you didn't hate, but do now. Oh, where do we start?
I think I made a series of notes because I thought this would be the main focus for today.
Yeah.
And it all starts in the 10th minute where the first goal we concede against the Monkey Hangers.
My first note just prior to the goal was haphazard start and a lazy river pace to proceedings. Asked if they want another slice of the action. This Wednesday team rub their bulging gut and say, "I've already eaten, thank you." Yeah, so 10 minutes. Was it Brown that played the ball straight out of play? Or did he do? Was he at fault for 2 terrible back passes in that the space?
No, because the cross was from the right flank, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know if Brown meandered his way over there just to have a Zelig approach in everything bad that Sheffield Wednesday did defensively in this game.
A reverse Forrest Gump. The AIDS, that was me. 9/11, yeah.
Sold Lee Harvey Oswald a gun,
Exactly. All these wonderful things. Well, do you want to take us through the run for that first goal then?
Well, I just remember it being a cross from the right flank, which was fine. It was a situation where Hartlepool were on the front foot. They came out with a lot of conviction, a lot of oomph, a lot of running. They were fair play. I have to say that they did the basics very, very well in this game, something that we didn't do at all in the slightest. What I do have serious misgivings about is the defending from said cross. How 2 Sheffield Wednesday players can be very, very easily beaten in the air by whoever it was who knocked it in for Hartlepool.
Was there big number 6 who happens to be called Mark Shelton? He's got Mark Shelton. It's a decent cross, to be fair.
It's a decent cross, yeah.
They recycled the ball well from the corner. We didn't clear it properly, and they recycled it well. But yeah, we can see too often from set pieces now, and this is one of the first team are playing. The reserves are playing like the first team, and in this regard, they've got the same failings in that we can't defend it.
There seems to be a big argument about how the fact that we seem to lose a lot when Dunkley isn't on the pitch, but. Which is fair, but I don't think that means that the rest of our defenders just completely forget how to do their defensive jobs.
No,
like it looked like the invention. How they invented the motion picture, and they would put it on, and a train would come towards the camera, and everybody would shit themselves. Yes. It was like that, just with the ball being in the air, being like, we've never seen someone cross a ball before. We've never seen the ball go above knee height on the training ground. So that was bad, but also the header that kind of evades Wildsmith.
Well, I've got Wildsmith channeling all the wrong bits of Westwood and star jumping in the general direction of the ball, because he's like legs and arms akimbo, but nowhere near any one of his flailing limbs. I mean, that set piece is interesting because Paterson's close at hand, but it's not his man who scores. It's So's man who scores, and normally your striker does do a fairly decent job in defending. You normally put a defender up against a striker in those situations, and normally a striker does all right. I guess So, to be fair to him, is not a striker. How often he's been asked to do that job defensively, I don't know, because he's more of a winger converted to. Well, he's barely anything. He's barely a footballer. But in terms of what he's being asked to do at Sheffield Wednesday, I wonder if that's the bit of the job that's even more alien to him than the rest of it. I don't know. But it's poor. It's poor marking. It's the defender does the right thing in nodding it down. Wildsmith just flails at it, and we're 1-0 down after just 10 minutes in this game, and. Things go from bad to worse.
And then it took us 10 minutes, but we were good. We were good 33% quicker than conceding the next goal.
Oh, we really improved in that regard.
We did.
It's meme football at its finest.
Well, there is a brilliant Twitter account, which is when playing out the back goes wrong. And I think they even featured this themselves amongst their many tweets.
Really deserved it.
It did. Where do you start with this? I mean, we're put under pressure. We're seemingly again playing around the back, with lesser personnel than usual.
I think you definitely see the difference. I mentioned last week that we don't want to see Wildsmith back, and put a big part of that is the distribution. it all starts with his awful ball to Jayden Brown. Like, he can't hit the ball straight. He has to like loop it round, which means not only does it end up going quite close to their striker for an initial, the striker possibly was maybe only a couple of feet away from just putting his foot on it and just shooting into an empty net anyway. But it also ends up like 6 feet behind Brown. So Brown's recovering and chasing away from a player to begin with. He gets it out into midfield just about. Wing, who had comfortably his worst half of football for us, and that is saying something, played it back to him, despite the fact he had only just like got rid of it in a really tense position. And then Brown, inexplicably, without looking, flings a pass back to Wildsmith. Wildsmith's come short for him. He's trying to make the job easier. He's trying to escape the clutches of the striker.
Yeah.
But what that means is when Jayden Brown plays it to the middle of the goal, it goes straight in. It's so embarrassing. It's so rubbish. And Brown's played the pass. I think everybody could and should have done better. Wildsmith starts it off, and then his reaction is very like, whoa, whoa, like flamboyant.
But there seems to be a bit of that. Then it seems to be a moment which he gives up on trying to go for the ball.
Yeah.
Like, it's difficult looking at something like this from the angle that we have, that things probably seem a lot easier than they actually are.
Of course.
I will give that. But then there seems to be a moment where Wildsmith gives up any commitment to keep going for the ball.
He's not desperately flinging himself after the ball.
No, he isn't. And
it's a very exaggerated, like, obviously the ball was played against his momentum, and so he's surprised by it. But it's a very kind of like exaggerated turn he does as well. Like, whoa, you got me there. I don't know. It's just very like big. It's like panto acting.
I was going to say, do you think it's a very pantomime villain turn?
It's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's behind me. Whoa, says Wildsmith.
The depressing thing about this game, well, apart from getting absolutely fucking rammed at home by Hartlepool United, in this trophy game, is like it's just the fact that like my comment in the notes for this Brown, what a nail in the coffin in his first team dreams.
How he has gone from. I know that this was tried out on Owls Talk, but how bad has he got since that start? We were all talking about how good he was and how he was one of the players we were most excited about in the new crop. And there's a thread on Owls Talk saying he's like Helan, but he's a footballer. And he has just, I mean, it's laughable to think that he's been compared favourably to another footballer ever in his life at this stage. Such a fall from grace.
Yeah. So the thing that's so crushing about this is it just seems so routine for this cast of characters who, with a few small exceptions, this is our second string. And this is our second string who should always be making a point for their inclusion in future games for Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah.
And there's just nothing. From anyone. Is it? And it's an interesting thing I want to think about is like sometimes the difficulty with doing any analysis on this, how much of this is individual and how much of this is collective?
Yeah.
Every man, bar Corbeanu, was dog shit.
And to be honest, he kind of stopped after.
Sure.
Because the game that everybody was playing was let's be terrible at football.
Let's just collectively give up. But that's the thing. Yeah. Collectively, it's a poor amalgamation of everyone's efforts.
Yeah. I think the thing is, so obviously you've got Wildsmith, who's naturally not as good with the ball at his feet anyway. You've also got a front two where there's just no option of an out. Even if you have to, there's no long ball today. On that game. Because you've got the cowering husk of Berahino and the blank space that is Silla Sao. There's just nothing when you look forward. And neither of those are going to win a header. They're not quick enough to beat people for pace. There was one embarrassing. I mean, at one point, Hartlepool overcommitted and so had the ball on the halfway line. And he was caught so quickly and easily. It's ridiculous. For a guy that's supposed to be a winger, a 6-foot-plus defender just ate up the ground and took the ball off him like he was a child. Awful. We tried to muster some efforts. I thought that, to be fair, this is a good Hartlepool performance as well as a bad Wednesday performance. And their goalkeeper shone as being particularly pretty good. I know it wasn't hard by comparison to look good, next to Joe Wildsmith on putting in, joining everybody else in having a terrible performance. So we did have some efforts. The best of those was probably Kieran Brennan's from a corner. I'm conscious you've maybe got more notes than me, Luke.
16th minute, Corbino had a moment. We seem to have a bit of a mini surge.
Yeah,
we tried. So we tried. He had a surge on the wing and came in, tried an effort which was touched wide and behind by the keeper. He also did a great cross in the 25th minute, which didn't come with anything else. And then I think that kind of brings it almost up to where you are. The 36th minute, also Hartlepool missed a sitter. Wing gave it away, and we were just completely at sea once again.
What do you think? So Wing's another one that has gone from an early bit of buzz around him. People were very excited to sign him. And he came out, man of the match performance early doors. So I think one of the first games he was given man of the match. What has happened to him? He looked so timid and terrible during this game. It didn't suit Deli Bashiru either. It just felt like he was having to work too hard to get any glimpses of what he would normally do in a game. A midfield that just absolutely didn't work. Byers was bad. Had topped off by a terrible shot where Wing laid it back to him from a set after a corner, and he ballooned it over. It's the sort of game where, so we got to half time. I was actually disappointed we made the set changes we did. I didn't want, in a way, I want them to sort of, I don't know, like a dog, like a dog where you rub their face in. It's like, no, you see what you've done. You've made a mess here. I sort of wanted that. I didn't want the good players to be tarnished with the awfulness. No, I didn't want that either. And then they didn't really have any great impact. No, that's the really crushing thing. It was like, if we're going to do this, we're going to commit to this, and it was like, no, there was just no way back from that. This was Barry Bannon's birthday. I thought he was left at home so he could celebrate with his family, right? Might as well have been. I had a really bad birthday once where I went and did an interview for a library assistant graduate position in Leeds, and it went really badly. And I had to have an interview on my birthday, and it was shit. That's not very good. So I can probably relate to Barry Bannon. Relate to Barry Bannon and his terrible birthday. Mm-hmm. I just, the last thing I'm glad this didn't happen, or at least we haven't heard it's happened, but I was just so worried that, like, Hunt's there and he's got this wrist problem or hand problem. Bannon's had metatarsal issues and calf problems. Windass is only just back. And I was just like, why are we playing these three players of questionable, why are we wasting good minutes? Well, this is done. The difficult thing with this and Wednesday at the moment is because we have no game this weekend. Like, it's a real interruption to our schedule. We know that, unfortunately, like, I'm really hoping that Tuesday is a decent. We're away at Portsmouth. Well, it's going to be crap because we've had a weekend off, and anytime we're rested, that's the problem. That's what I was. Another horrid recurring theme for Sheffield Wednesday is like, I'm hoping that I'm wrong in that regards. But so I think there's an argument for keeping a strong team, but it's a weird selection. Like, it's a very strange picture for this lineup. Yeah. And I mean, one of my early notes was kind of a bit like, it's almost like you patch a team together like this and things like this happens. It's a tinkering step too far for Darren Moore tonight. Well, I don't know.
Because it's similar themes, though, isn't it? It's like, because it's like we don't have enough defenders.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a sub where we brought Wing off or Agbontohoma? Forgive my pronunciation of his name.
Yeah. That was the next sub, 70th minute.
But it was like, I didn't know why we didn't just start with it. Like, I don't know.
Well, it's
a weird feeling of like, oh, this should be strong enough. But then, like, we're doing that thing again of like it. But it seemed to be like, oh, I did this formula where, yeah, granted, first game of doing this, it wasn't so great, but then it eventually picked up, and then it seemed to work. Which other birthday boy who's still injured, Marvin Johnson, born the same day as Weebaz, and he went and did that left-sided centre back. So it's like, I'll just do the same with Jaden Brown.
But then that's where this was particularly for. I think I agree. I think Agbontohoma should have started because he played well last time out.
Yeah.
But last time out, Brown was awful in this position. Like, I know we won 4-0, but we were absolutely smashed about. All that happened in this game was we didn't score every time we shot. Like, it's the same. It's the same performance we put in against Harrogate with this terrible team. So I don't know what we expected. We just got punished for our mistakes and didn't get lucky at the other end.
Because we didn't have anywhere near the aptitude that we showed in that game up front.
No, well that's part of it as well. But yeah. I just don't know why Jaden Brown got another opportunity there. He's clearly terrible at being centre back.
Because it's this weird first term mix. Yeah, I think you've used that analogy of Darren Moore emptying his toy box, and then he just snow angels / motorboats whatever's there, and then whatever comes in contact with his body is that's the first team lineup.
So should Hippo or should Hippo got another run out at wing back? He's played so many times at wing back. Did you see that he had the audacity to moan that he's not played enough this season? He was interviewed on Radio Sheffield and said he hadn't played enough.
Well, that seems to be the big.
Darren Moore's door and said that he wanted to play more.
But that's a narrative, especially it's interesting. You're talking about, what's the future of Alex Hunt? We haven't had a conversation about Brennan, but I'm sure it will mature. I'm sure it will come into the press at some point.
Yeah.
But then there's been the narrative around all of our loan players, with the exception of Canberra.
Yeah.
Possibly. And Canberra and BPF. To say they're not playing enough. They could get recalled.
Yeah.
Which, looked to be true for Corbeanu to a certain point, but now he looks like he's actually up and running at the races.
Yeah.
Show Hippo has maybe had two decent games, and the rest have all been pretty shit. I agree with you. Yeah. It's very much.
It's just for me. He's played too much. I was really surprised. I mean, I know it's a journalist. There's only so many questions you can ask as a footballing journalist. So I don't have any qualms with asking the question. But I was really surprised at the answer, where he's just like, "Yeah, I'm not getting enough game time," and it's like, "You're bad. You're just outright bad every time you play. Like you do nothing."
Yeah.
So there's still room for a bit of anger this second half, which is good to know, isn't it? We did have an actual chance at one point. A nice bit of play, wing to Bannon to Corbeanu, decent cross from Corbeanu, and Berahino hit an all right shot. It was straight at the keeper and it was easily saved, but he made decent contact with it. And you started to think, oh, maybe there's some life in this game. Maybe we'll try, and then no, they immediately go up the other end and score the third. Another shoddy goal from a corner.
Yeah, that was really, really, really dog shit.
Nobody competes in the air. Nobody competes on the ground, and the keeper is useless. Goodwin pokes it in.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Wildsmith is kind of like those the wobbly men.
The wobbly men outside the car dealerships. Yeah.
That was his approach to goalkeeping, apparently. Yeah. On Wednesday night.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible.
I've got a pithy comment to make outside of that, because the rest of it, there's not much else. I said Agbontohoma on for wing just for shits and giggles, I guess. that was the note, but not the main note. The other note, that's the main pithy one. Rob O'Neill declares that Bannon always wants the ball, whether it's a five-a-side game or a Papa John's trophy game. I guess we will never know unless the five-a-side competition is on the cards next year. What next? Greg's Wembley doubles with the final at Selhurst Park.
I like that they are sort of put forward as two ends of the scale, and the five-a-side game is the more important of the two in my mind. He really wants the ball, whether it's a kickabout by a barbecue or or something really crap like a Papa John's trophy game in front of 10 cold people in Sheffield. Most annoying moment of the match. Do you want to take the lead on it, Luke, or do you want me to?
You take the lead on it, Rich.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the exact minute. It was very close to the end of the game. They brought on. Well, he came on.
Oh yes,
on the 86th minute. Fondop.
I remember.
So Fondop and Callum Paterson go up for a header on the byline, and bear in mind this is right on the halfway line. So the fourth official is right there. There would be a linesman right there as well. He first off, so he's sort of getting up. And he pushes Patterson's face into the ground to lift it to sort of. That's how he gets himself. He's trying to get himself up, but then he kind of rolls Patterson over and starts doing what can only be described as a sort of jiu-jitsu move on him. He's trying to do like a choke of some sort, and the ref is there, the fourth official's there, a linesman is there, and that brains trust does not send him off like they should, because it's just an act of pure thuggery. What they do is they give yellow cards to both people, which is the most cowardly, response to any situation in football.
And because it's been seen by the referees and judged and given a yellow card to, it can't be retrospectively given a red card. So that's it. That's all we'll say. Like it is incredibly poor decision making.
And yeah,
it made me so angry. If I was there on the pitch, I would have just gone over and just kicked the shit out of the guy. Like, seriously. Like, it's
Bannon sort of did, didn't he? He did a bit of old school retribution because he did half him straight after.
Yeah.
And good on Bannon, to be honest.
But then he because we, that situation, because seemingly this gentleman Fondop is beyond any element of retribution. Someone did a chat. Someone have a bit of. Was it Bannon had a bit of afters with him, and then he willed out a karate chop just to round out the martial arts show that he was bringing to the proceedings. It was more WWE for my standard. I was just hoping it would just kind of like jokingly, lightheartedly go into a kind of a fake wrestling match. Yeah. I was hoping that like Darren Moore would bring out like
that's Darren Moore's music.
I was hoping Moore or maybe the coaching staff could bring out like some clotheslines, and then like Patterson could get up on the top and then do a bit of like near into the crowd and jump on, and Fondop would roll away, and then like because it was genuinely that theatrical, and it was hilarious because it was like we could see it so clearly. Everybody in the ground could see it so clearly because it's like it's there on the south stand, which I guess is the only stand that was open for this game.
Yeah,
bar the away end.
Yeah,
like it's there, clear as night as day. Like
I know
you could record this and put this on YouTube, and then it'd be a viral video being like, how did anybody like not see this in a football match?
I'd love to see as you say, the super frustrating addition is sod all can happen now because he's got a magic yellow card.
Yeah.
Like the ref did not see this.
I can't.
The ref did not see
never
because he
believe.
wouldn't have just given a yellow card.
I don't know how that rule is still a thing.
I mean,
we talk about like how it looks like his pinky finger was offside, so therefore it's offside. Like this is what we deal with now, but it's like, well, it gave him a yellow card, so it can't really do anything now. It's like it's double jeopardy.
It's double jeopardy, exactly. You can write the book afterwards. why I choked Callum Paterson by thumbed up the knob. But yeah, my final note there really was a really frustrating coda on an awful night, like Crazy Frog breaking off into a middle eighth of I've Got a Song that will get on your nerves. Any more on that one?
No, that's it. I'm still staggered that like this is a second string who should be knocking on Darren Moore's door to say, I'd like to play more. And like,
it's not a bad second string either, really.
It's not. We have a strong squad, so it should be enough to go and like. I can't believe we didn't score like one goal.
Yeah,
there was nothing in response. That's just so dreadful, just utter dreck.
This is one of the. I know he likes, he's trying to play a system and kind of work people into the system, but surely, for all the talk of he does, he watches endless tape and he's got horses for courses, he's got a plan for every team, etc. Like, Luke's chuckling, which is making me laugh, man.
Sorry, I'm still laughing at Crazy Frogs. I've got a song that going. Oh, I'm glad I could laugh. Jesus.
But like, surely you play Brennan and Bontahoma as a back two, give them decent fullbacks, put Patterson up top, and you kind of are able to play the same second string, but in a shape that looks and works a bit like a football team.
Do that. Make Bontahoma a decent thing around the pitch. Maybe make him a first team regular for this season, so I can come to a game in a couple of weeks' time and see if my Blur's tender chance to Bontahoma will take off.
You're going to give us a blast, Luke.
Bontahoma, Bontahoma, which Rich made the good point that like I don't think you can actually separate his name, and also who knows if I'm actually pronouncing it correctly anyway.
Yeah.
So,
since when has that mattered? Really?
During the situation that stopped the game, he'd come up the cop to say like, "Can you stop, please? That's not."
Yeah.
Whisper in my ear like it's pronounced this way. And I'm like, I'm really sorry.
Do we want to pick a rare midweek villain of the week or villain of the game? Or is it too difficult to pick one?
It's too difficult to pick one, yeah. Like who would you? We can pick multiple though. Who would share the like equal footing, share the podium? The podium's just like a long 1 mile long platform. About 6 inches off the floor.
Yeah.
Brown's
right up there, isn't he?
Wildsmith was terrible. Wing was pretty bad. Somebody made the comment on, I don't know if it was a Facebook forum or Wednesday Sing or somewhere, but someone made the point about just how dejected and lacking confidence Lewis Wing looks in his play, which is you need to get on that sports psychologist arms race, Rich.
Yeah. He needs his own one.
We need 4 just for him.
Well, there we go. That was that. Should we engage in the other half of this this double slice?
Let's do it. Let's do it hopefully with the provision that maybe we're never going to do this again.
Yes. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah. Even though we probably will be playing in the Papa John's Trophy next year.
Okay. I mean, do you want to?
Yeah. I mean, this time I really want to redo my review from previously because I remembered listening to yours, and it was very much like our Rich and I's favorite podcast in the world, Doughboys, which we paid a homage to with this with that themed episode, and this bit again as well. Rich did a very kind of comprehensive overview in his order of a lot of dishes within this. So I actually went, and I felt bad because I didn't do that. So this time I really pushed the boat out, Rich.
Okay.
So
well, I feel like I was fairly controlled, but we'll see.
I went for, so I don't know if you have these in the UK on the Papa John's menu, but they have papadillas, which is like It's like a pizza sandwich, kind of a bit almost like a calzone, I guess.
Okay. I
But
don't
it
know
seems
that
to
we
be
have
something
that.
that's branded their way. So I went for a meatball pepperoni papadio, regular sauce. Came with a pizza dipping sauce, which was
Okay.
also pizza sauce as well.
You went
So
marinara.
yeah, we'll come back to this in a bit later.
Okay.
I kind of went because I was doing such a large order as well for the regular kind of main thing. I went and actually thought, let's just do a regular 10-inch cheese pizza. This is the base level of how we can assess all
Okay.
the
Nice. Yeah.
places. How do they do the basics? Though I did get a bit cheeky and do the square cuts because I thought
Okay.
that could be funny. It
Okay.
wasn't. It was
It
basically just
wasn't.
like just a pizza cut into wee little squares, kind of rectangular squares.
A
I
round
went
pizza squares or a square pizza cut into
a
squares?
round pizza cut into squares,
Wow.
not a
Okay.
square pizza cut into squares.
Okay.
Not even a square pizza cut into rounds.
No, well, yeah.
That'd be a mess.
You don't go too crazy.
Not crazy than what I did. I went for some also on the appetizer train. Also, who was in the carriage, but some garlic cheddar knots.
Okay.
8-piece 10-inch garlic cheddar knots with honey mustard dipping sauce. Also went for an 8-piece jalapeno popper rolls with garlic
yeah.
dipping sauce. The final appetizer as well, I can bring you in on, was a 10-piece honey chipotle chicken poppers.
Okay.
I always find it funny they ask you, I don't know if you get the same thing there, like how much do you want it baked? Do you want it normal baked or do you want it
Okay.
baked? I'm like, I don't fucking know. You've created the item in your kitchen. What did you discover?
Serve it up a la mode, please.
We put it in a microwave for 5 seconds and it's undercooked and it'll give you food poisoning. I'll have that then.
Got it more than that or less than that?
And finally, to round it off, I went and dabbled in the little bit of dessert market. And I went for the cinnamon pull aparts. So shout out to my good friend, my dear friend, my neighbor Carla. Often a big thing that we do is that we often get a tube of Pillsbury cinnamon buns and load them up, and then load them up with some lovely topping of icing sugar at the end as well.
Lovely juicy
icing. So that was my mahoosive order from Papa John's.
Smashing.
What did you go for, Rich?
Well, first off, for the the potential person that might be bothered by this, last time I got delivery and was frustrated by the length of the delivery, so this time I opted for collection, and it was done too quick. I played a game of Rocket League that my teammate and I played so poorly in that we forfeited. So about 3 minutes of Rocket League, and it was done by that time. It was ready for collection. So
the new advertising campaign will be done in time for you to shit the bed during your recent Rocket League.
So that was the excuse I needed to drive rather than walk, despite the fact it's only 9 minutes walk away. So yeah, that all worked well. Mena got it nice, hot and fresh, which is good.
You could walk 6 minutes of the way there and then press the order button on your phone.
Exactly.
You don't need to break a pace. You don't stop at all. You just walk in, pick it up, turn around, and then go. Yeah, much like Grandpa Simpson in that meme.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I went for the festive feast deal, which seems a lot like a deal that they do all the time.
But so festive.
Two sides and 2 medium pizzas and a large drink.
Did it not even chuck in a chocolate orange?
No.
Did it not on the way out when you picked it up, like throw a chocolate orange at you and be like, there's your festive.
Do you know, sorry, just a wild digression. They are advertising or selling. I think they're going beyond advertising. It's a product that's available for sale of Terry's chocolate orange mayonnaise.
Oh my word, no.
Well, I don't know why you'd want that. Anyway, so that's sorry about that. That's So the only festive so I sort of said to Luke, if there's festive options, let's try them out. Aside from the name of the deal, which, as I say, it seems to be the same price and details of a deal that runs constantly. I think they normally call it Football Feast or something like that. So yeah, aside from that, they had camembert bites and pigs in blankets. And I've written a little rant here, and I may take this back, but anyway. By the way, for our North American listeners, that's a sausage wrapped in bacon. What you call pigs in blankets is a sausage roll. And while we're at it, entree means entrance. It's the start of the meal. The sophistication of using a French word is lost when you do it wrong. Could care less is a stupid saying. It means you do care, at least a little bit. What you mean is I couldn't care less. Anything else, Luke, you want to chuck in while we're on the subject?
I'm staggered that the Americans pronounce it rough instead of roof.
Oh, yeah.
Other than that, I'm fine.
Craig instead of Craig. That's another annoying.
That's big.
Anyway.
How do they pronounce Graham?
Oh, who knows? I hate the thought of it, Luke.
Rich went on a real racist Brexit tirade and said, "Not in my Britain," and I had to remind him. Said, "No, Rich, this is what the Americans do. It's nothing to do with the UK."
I wish we'd never given them the country, to be honest. Seeing what they've done with it.
I did see a wonderful Twitter, which was, I can't work out if it's parody or not, but it was an American in the UK, and she's like, "When you get here, you've got to go to GR Eggs." Oh
no, surely.
And then somebody comes in and says, "It's actually Greg's," during the middle of the video. It surprises her.
GR Eggs.
GR Eggs. But it's a good one. I think I'm going to use that one now.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Come back and get a hostage roll at GR Eggs.
A Viran hostage roll.
An ST eek bake. Bouquet.
I decided I couldn't face the P's and B's, the pigs in blankets. I'll be honest, I'd had a fairly sausage-heavy day the day before, and I also just thought they would be disgusting. But I did get the camembert, so that was my festive nod. I accompanied them with some cauliflower wings that came with a.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know.
I'm continually impressed with. I'm continually impressed with the food options that you have in the UK. Like it's. No, genuinely, there is a food literacy which is far beyond some of the things that you get in here in Canada. Like certain things here that I'd say, the UK doesn't get, but
yeah,
but that's an interesting one. Like I've had the conversation with people like here in Canada saying, when are we going to get up to speed with the halloumi train? Like people love their squeaky cheese in the UK.
Yeah. I'm a big alumnus of the alumnus.
You do say that all the time. I mean, it's just a shame we never captured it on the podcast. But I will say, listeners, that he has many a warm up.
Yeah,
many warm ups telling me where his application is for the board of alumnus. Is it come in this week, Rich? No, not this week.
Not this week. They move very slowly in the world of salty squeaky cheese.
Supply chain issues,
Exactly. My pizzas, I went for a Hawaiian, but swapped out the ham for pepperoni. So I'm calling that an angry Hawaiian.
Interesting.
How
is that? I've never had pepperoni and the pineapple.
It was good. Well, we'll get to it. But spicy barbecue pulled beef was the other one I went for. So the aforementioned pulled beef is joined by a crap ton of jalapeno peps, onions, and as a kind of Papa John's signature trait, inexplicable sweet corn and tomato, finished with a squirt of barbecue sauce.
In the football feast, do they brand everything like? Do you want some Pep Guardiolas on there?
Dario Shuka's. I don't know. Why that came to mind.
Dario Gradi AP. I mean, it's a football reference, but I don't think we should be mentioning Dario Gradi. Papa.
Right. Do you want to review your bits and pieces then, or
yeah? Should I go first and then I'll leave it to you, or that's how we'll do this? Okay. The chicken poppers. So they dance between wonderful and stale, like chicken fingers you bake from frozen in the oven that you take off for some drunken moments that before crushing remind you of their base level. So much like this competition in Wednesday's performances. So I had that moment, Rich, I will say, that I had a lot of food. I'm getting older and there's probably less food I should probably be eating and probably have like allergies and acid reflux and things.
Yeah.
But I remembered being a young man and I could eat like a 12-inch or a 14-inch Domino's all in one sitting. And I knew the power was with me, with momentum. You know, Seinfeld was right about momentum. So I kind of looked at this big pile of boxes. I had about like 7 boxes atop each other.
Yeah.
This was a real mess of packaging, I will say. And I thought of it like the Travelator in Gladiators. Like, excellent. I just knew I had to like go for it. So I had a lot of momentum near the beginning. So this was actually the thing which I actually managed to be all of the chicken poppers.
Oh, well done. Excellent.
But they were good. So like, yeah, so it's kind of like breaded chicken, which was endorsed with the barbecue chipotle sauce.
Yeah.
It's nice. It seemed like some bits did still seem like a bit, like I said, a bit stale at times.
Yeah.
I will say, and this is something I'll go on to now, I'll maybe just jump ahead because I had this here and I've had quite a few other occasions of this. Okay. I still have a love-hate relationship with that garlic butter sauce.
Yes.
A mistress that delivers great highs but depresses me all the time. Like, this is my general diet just reminds me that I'm going to die before 70 probably. And this is, you know, a moment which just makes me think I should change, but I don't know.
When you're dipping your cheesy crust in the butter, that's when you kind of know, like, these are the moments I'll look back on.
It must be butter. It must, you know, I can't believe it's not garlic buttery sauce, I must say. But I had a great moment, which, like, I think I dipped some in, and then like it was in the foil in the cardboard box, and it just created this like river of like the chipotle and garlic butter sauce. That was fantastic. Ooh, big fan of that. That was good to come back to and dip my stuff in to try and lengthen, because I've got a couple more tubs of that garlic butter sauce. I'll tell you that, Rich.
That's good.
So that's in the fridge alongside all my leftovers.
Yes, me too.
I have so much food to eat up before I leave.
Tonight as well.
I've got so much food to eat before I leave for the UK. It's a real logistic problem. The jalapeno popper rolls are basically like, because that seems like a very North American thing. I don't know if do you have them there in the UK? Like, you can buy like frozen jalapeno breaded poppers. So it's like, you know, it's breadcrumbs, it's cream cheese, and then it's like the spicy jalapenos and the jalapenos in the middle. The spicy guardiolas in the middle of them, in the middle of that thing. But it's basically that just in dough, basically.
Yeah. So okay. I've never, the roll element I've never heard of before. Jalapeno poppers I'm very familiar with.
Yeah, it was average beyond average. It was basically pretty much the same there. The papadilla, moving on to that's like making a cheese toasty from a pizza pan base. It's like someone folded a slice of pizza and then fell asleep on it. It didn't actually, like, it didn't join with, there's no adhesive to join. And I'm like, I opened it up to see what was there, and that was the most disappointing example of curiosity that could ever befall man. Like, that was really seeing how the sausage was made, because basically it's just a folded pizza.
Yeah.
And then it comes with pizza sauce.
Okay.
Awful, and then awful regurgitation, you know. And then I'm going on a bit of a segue here, but I just want to kind of illuminate this with an example here. So I think that, especially as someone who is I will acknowledge that I am a white immigrant to a country which had a very native people of natives who have previously been custodians of this country and haven't been dealt very well. I think there's a lot we can learn from native heritage and cultures. One thing I don't think Papa John should be doing is looking at how the native people use the buffalo, and they used every single bit of the buffalo. I think that Papa John's should not do stuff that is by you reusing a buffalo, which is entirely comprised of skin, which is the dough. So then I came and had this realization of all the things I'd ordered, and I had this depressing realization that everything I was coming to was essentially just going to be dough related.
Dough related, yeah.
And I was already at this point, and I'm already feeling like I could probably stop eating at this point, and that would probably be the choice I should probably make.
I think that's a classic pizza problem, isn't it? In terms of an accompaniment or a starter, one, more often than not, they're kind of lazily reusing what they've already got and just reshaping it. And then two, when you go outside of those bounds, your cooking implement is still just the pizza oven. Mm-hmm. So everything you're cooking beyond that, like your chicken dippers are much nicer when they're fried. But put through a pizza oven, you're going to get bits that are a bit soggy and bits that are a bit hot, and like, because that's kind of how a pizza oven heats things. It's just an inherent kind of I don't know. It's a problem with the format. The kind of I don't know how it gets fixed. Really, it's one of the biggest problems in the world, really. And I hope.
I think it is. Yeah. I mean, there's apartheid. Whether a woman should have a choice over her body with abortion and pizza ovens.
Yeah. Then
there are three problems in the Western world.
Then we can maybe think about the environment. Get the other things sorted first. Come on, prioritize.
So carrying on this note, this is where I came to the garlic knots. Someone in the Papa John's test kitchen has done a lot of coke and has a little imagination. And who knows between those two factors, which is a chicken and which is the egg. But this is basically twists of dough with garlic and cheese. This is unfortunate for the knots where I came to them, and yet they have a softness to the dough, which I really appreciated. So when you kind of twirl them out, you can actually pull them apart, and you can see that there's some moisture there, which we've kind of been missing during this thing. So it's a different sensation that makes me feel a little different. Like my boring life had a moment that made me reevaluate if things could be different until I had the pizza. The pizza is boring, average shite again. Just wadding on my arteries on the dull days of this life and this pandemic. A slow, tedious death from a life of bad choices.
Wow, this is real existential stuff.
We ended up with the cinnamon terra parts, which looks like it was done from frozen, as it must have been baked in its own little tin. It was not bad, I must say, which was a hard call as I feared more dough in my life. We literally attempted by doing a Doughboys episode and doing another Doughboys episode, and Richard's wearing a Doughboys t-shirt, that I am becoming a boy of literal dough. Like, it is what I eat.
You are what you eat.
I'm going to try and use my fingers, and they're just going to become more jabby, doughy. It's going to be like Homer in The Simpsons, where like he has to order the wand because his palm is too fleshy to hit the digits. So there we go. That was my kind of experience. I don't know. Do you want me to kind of do some more comparisons between what this is again, or no?
It's entirely up to you. I can give my my.
You give yours, and then let's do a recap. Yeah.
What I ate. Cauliflower wings, largely okay, but there's a huge variation in size. Like it would be weird if you got chicken wings where like one of them was the size of a chicken, and then the next one was the size of I don't know, like a dice. And that's sort of what happens with the cauliflower wings. You get enormous ones, which are bad, and smaller ones, which are quite nice and crispy. They've gone with their own brand hot sauce, which is not a good choice. Just stick with Frank's or something that people know. It was too watery and weird. Had some of that kind of vinegary punch, but just, come on, just stick to what you know. You're pizza people, not chili sauce people. Come Um, Camembert bites, overall pretty nice. There was a kind of weird, watery, juicy sort of explosion when you bit in. I don't know quite why, but when you got over the initial unpleasantness of that, they were quite tasty. There was like black sesame seeds in the.
I really want you, Rich, to just be like, I'd love Papa John's to be a full restaurant, and imagine you as the waiter giving like, what would you recommend? So, well, I'd recommend this. I mean, once you get over the initial unpleasantness.
Yeah, it's a bit like an eyeball popping in your mouth. There's a squirt of weird juice, but after that, it's not too bad. So I'd recommend those. They're probably the best thing you can have out of these starters. And I was conscious, similarly, that was the only thing I actually finished was the camembert bites. But towards the end, even of just, that one sitting, they were hardening up and getting a little bit less enticing. I think just, while they were hot, it worked. I'm a man, in many, there's a bit in Friends where Monica says to Joey, "I'm making your favorite," and he goes, "Oh, fried stuff and cheese." And she's like, no, the other one. Oh, fried cheese and stuff. And I'm a fan of fried cheese. If you put a cheese in a pastry parcel or some sort of breading, I'm going to be there. That's the sort of man I am. So it worked for me. It worked fine. The Angry Hawaiian was as expected, pretty tasty, pretty good. I enjoyed their kind of pizza base more than last time. I don't know whether they've changed the recipe at all, but I was having a better time with my pizza this time than last time. The spicy barbecue pulled beef, completely overloaded. Do you know, like when you buy a base and you make your own pizza at home, and you could, sometimes the temptation was like, well, they're just being stingy by not having cheese all the way to the ends, and like, why do they only put like 3 bits of pepperoni? I should put this whole packet. And what you end up with at the end is kind of an overloaded, soggy mess. It was a bit like that. Obviously not aided by that. The fresh tomato thing is just, I don't think it really works particularly well. Unless it's like the only thing on the pizza. It just makes everything so soggy. The sweet corn actually pulled its weight. It was a bit of a secret MVP in the flavor palette. So overall, I think that was probably my favorite bite of the night. But it was very much kind of like sort of shove it in, not think about think about it too much, and it kind of worked, even though it was not a looker by any stretch. As Ian Holloway, talked about, sometimes. You want to cop off. Sometimes you bag a minger. And it was a bit of a minger, but it did the job. So there you go. I think that's probably a fair assessment of Papa John's in general.
Just bagging a minger.
Bag a minger. So you've got some more bits and pieces to wait for us?
Well, I just want to say, in comparison with this Sheffield Wednesday Papa John performance, I mean, the chicken poppers, I said, they dance between wonderful and very base level, which I think is what we found in the group stages coming to then compared with the game against Hartlepool. Papa John's is a second string. Is a third string pizza outfit, really, and that like this comprises with a third string football cup competition.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think it's intriguing as well? It's so often been this competition a juxtaposition to how the team is faring in the league. So we've had bad weekends often in the league, and then things are lifted by a surprisingly good performance in the Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've actually got a team that is playing well and doing well in the league. We turn up this absolute, humdinger of a terrible performance in the Papa John's Trophy. Intriguing. To round things up, Luke, how do you like this idea? We rate the cup in terms of 1 to 5, how many slices of the action you would like. And we rate the pizza 1 to 5 in terms of how many slices of the action you would like.
Interesting. That sounds good. Yeah.
So cup first. I'm Papa John, and this is my football trophy. How many slices of this action do you want?
So you're asking me, Papa John, you've got 5 slices there, and I can have as many as I like.
Take as many as you like. Did I just say the N-word again? I'm a hilarious character.
And I can even have fractions of a slice.
You can have fractions of a slice. You can even chuck in that weird chili pepper thing that I didn't get this time at all.
I did. I had a shriveled, poor excuse for a pepperoncini in one of my boxes. It's probably rotting in my fridge as we speak, or delaying the rotting of it, you know.
Yeah.
There we go. I would probably, Mr. Papa John, for your pizza trophy, I would probably have 1 slice of the action for overall, and then I would probably tentatively have another half slice. I think after I've had that first initial slice.
Okay, 1.5 out of 5 for the trophy.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose that's fair. It's really amazing how I sort of enjoyed it as a distraction, and then when the results started to go against us, just immediately just could not care less about this stupid trophy. Like it was just like the own goal. From the own goal onward, it just talking about like eating while you're full or whatever. You know that feeling when you're waiting for your bill, you've had your fill in a restaurant, and somebody else gets like a sizzling plate of food, and it makes you feel ill. Yeah. That's immediately like, yeah, I'm done with this stupid cup. Always hated it. Always. It's
chatting to your friend and being like, "Oh, you're still seeing X person?" And they're like, "No, we split up." And like, "Oh, I hated them. Terrible. Always hated them."
Exactly. Yeah.
But I always feel a bit like if I've had like a really bad meal and like watching Wednesday in these cup competitions, like because it's gone and it's gone out of everything we've done and put into this is lost. It's not like a league. It's not like an accumulation. You're done from here. You kind of weirdly want to just undo being in the cup.
Yeah.
It's a bit like a bad meal. You're like, I wish I could have that calorie deficit back.
Honestly, from halftime onwards, all I was worried about was Windass getting injured. And I did text it to you. I didn't like him running after things or them tackling him. I just like, this is the worst thing that could happen out of tonight on top of this terrible performance.
And then we
lose a really important player.
And then we brought Bannon, Hunt, and who was the third player we brought on at halftime?
Windass came on at halftime.
Windass.
That's what. Yeah. So that whole second half was just like, I don't want any of the good ones to get injured. So anyway, I think actually 1.5 is a fairly fair assessment. I think I'll probably go along with that. So on to the Tsar.
Are you going to take on the role of Papa John again, Rich?
Hey, I'm Papa John. I hope I didn't say the N-word too much. What about my pizza? How many slices of this action do you want?
I just want to say, guys, like he's done zero method acting into this role. Like he's truly.
I've been Papa John for the whole podcast.
We should send this on to Christian Bale's agents so you can get some notes from you on this one. Of the actual pizza, Papa John's, I think Mr. John, I can manage 2 slices of your pizza.
Well, thank you for your assessment. How kind of you. I hope I didn't daub a racial epithet on my face whilst you were making your decision. I think I'd go right down the middle. I think it's like, it's a workaday. It's far too expensive, but it's just like perfectly okay pizza.
Then the problem is like, what benefit does it serve? Well, it
doesn't.
But that's a lot of them. That's Pizza Hut, which I guess is no longer. Is it even a sit-down restaurant in the UK anymore? You said that's okay. Because I like it as a sit-down restaurant.
I actually enjoyed one before the Wigan match.
I have fond memories of going with my dad as a young boy and him taking me, and us getting a deep pan regular pizza with pineapple on.
Your little cap on and your shorts.
It comes out, comes because it's pan pizza, isn't it? That's the thing that they're there for. But it never translates to a delivery.
It doesn't work as a delivery.
It's terrible as a delivery.
That little crisp is gone.
And then Domino's is weird.
Mm-hmm.
Domino's is weird. I mean, Domino's is kind of good. Like Domino's always makes me reevaluate the purpose of grease. Like you have too much grease, you're like, no, that's way too greasy. It's just like sopping in grease.
Yeah.
But then Domino's just feels a bit too fresh and a bit too bland. It needs a bit of oil there.
Yeah.
Something's missing in that regards. So there clearly is there's a Goldilocksian haunt, which is like in between the two pole, the North Pole and South Pole of the greasy North Pole of Pizza Hut and the
scaling the greasy North Pole,
the completely evaporated grease of the Domino's South Pole as well, just to give us a festive fare, So that's and then like here we have Panago here,
okay,
which is okay. It's fine. Actually, maybe I'll prefer Panago at the most of those. But like Papa John's is just like, this is not a boutique pizza.
No.
Is it that much better than getting a frozen pizza, putting it in the oven?
Yes, is the answer really. But
is it?
I think so. Frozen pizza is pretty naff generally.
Well, I'm not including like San Marco in this.
Okay.
I don't know. I think it's
you go for a more bougie.
I think there's some more bougie frozen options that are a bit better. So,
well, there we go.
Yeah,
that's that. Our time with the coveted Papa John's trophy is over, and for another year. Hopefully, we never have to play in it again, or it gets a new sponsor.
We put away our Papa John's toys.
We put away our pizza slicer and concentrate wholesale on the Sky Bet League One. Hello, I'm Mr. Sky Bet. How much do
you... How much money should we throw at football to ruin people's lives with betting addictions?
Should we completely fuse the DNA of football and gambling, or slightly fuse the DNA of football and gambling?
There's an advert with Jeff Stelling. You like him, don't you?
You like him, so he wouldn't make you spend too much money gambling and ruin your life, would he? Because he's nice. Remember how he likes Hartlepools.
He likes the monkey hangers.
He loves the monkey hangers of Hartlepools. He likes that new badge and gambling. You should gamble. We should wrap this up, shouldn't we, Luke? Really,
we should. Let's do it.
Thank you very much for your time, folks. This has been a weird week, but hopefully we've managed to sort of have a bit of fun in there, despite the truly abysmal performance handed in by Wednesday. But wish you well for the week ahead, Luke, and safe travels. As we won't speak until you're back.
No, we will. No, I'm going to. Next week, I'm planning to do the episode we're going to have a Lukey.
Oh, you're going to be in the airport.
Lukey G travel episode. Yeah, I'll be creeping out some lounge or some area.
Well, you'll be in international space at that point, aren't you? Like, I think once you go over that line, you can basically do everything, can't you? It's like international waters.
That's what Tom Hanks told us. Yeah.
Good old Tom Hanks. Right. Well, yes, I'll speak to you then before you go. So I will tell you safe travels again. But safe travels to the airport.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And in the week.
And in the week.
Safe travels to everybody. If you're traveling this week, we want it to be safe.
And aren't we all on the journey of life? So safe travels there as well. Cheerio.
See everybody. Bye-bye.
I've just stuffed a cotton wool bud up my sinus and I've rubbed it on the plate. PCR for Christmas. I hope my results will be great.